OK, let's have a look at how Yahya Sinwar's death transpired, what it all means with David DeRoche. He's a professor at the National Defence University. He's also a former Pentagon director of Arabian Peninsula Affairs. He joins us from Washington, D.C. A warm welcome, David. So the operation we know happened in Rafah on Wednesday. Sinwar killed apparently in an unplanned attack. This was not apparently intelligence-led. We know also an Israeli soldier, according to some reports, was apparently seriously injured in the process. What should we make of this operation?
I wouldn't draw much of it. My guess is that he probably had multiple places that he would spend a day or two at, and he was probably moving between those places in order to prevent the possibility of compromise. So I think that while he was going from location to location, he just bumbled into a patrol and unfortunately for him, got shot up.
Why, given all of the military support and expertise that Israel has it taken this long to find Yahya Sinwar, do you think?
Well, because he was hidden among a densely populated area with civilians. And he also had exceptional communications discipline where, people weren't allowed near him with cell phones, radios, things of that nature that are normally intercepted. So he put a lot of effort into his operational security planning. And I think that, that's pretty much why he was able to stay alive for so long.
Sinwar was, as you say, he wasn't out in the open. He wasn't in a deep bunker. He was out in the open, rather. He wasn't surrounded by captives. That's what we were apparently led to believe, that he was using them as human shields. I wonder, when it comes to our understanding of where Yahya Sinwar has been, of the people around him, and the kind of network that he has been at the head of, whether we really have been getting the right information from Israel.
Well, we don't know for sure. And, these are early days, so this is just conjecture. But if I were in charge of security, what I would do is I would have 4 or 5 locations with hostages, and I would move him every day or so from one cluster of hostages to another in order to ensure that he wasn't in one location for too long, that there was no compromise. And then I would actively monitor in each of these little hostage clusters Israeli action to see if there was any indication that they had identified that location. So the risk point there is that he has to physically move from safe house to safe house, from hostage cluster to hostage cluster. You would do that with a small element, which he appears to have done so that you don't attract attention, but apparently he blundered into a patrol, which is the risk.
Now, presumably any release of captives still in Gaza would have had to have been authorized by Yahya Sinwar. So what now? How might his death affect any captive release negotiation?
Good question. So presumably his death has a profound morale effect. The question is who takes over after him, whether they view that a defeat, at least in the short run, is inevitable, in which case they may seek to modify the terms for their defeat and release the captives, or whether he's succeeded by somebody who is as or even more hardline than he is, in which case there may be a fight to the death, and that would accomplish that would be accompanied by the slaughter of the hostages. We honestly don't know right now, and this is a very, very dangerous time. But Sinwar is generally regarded as a particularly hard-nosed, rather brutal person. So I would guess, all other things being equal, that there is a possibility for release of hostages that you didn't have before.
Now, the circle is closed, but the mission is not over. Those are the words of Israel's foreign minister. I mean, Israel says it will continue to operate for years to come in Gaza. What do you understand by that?
Well, that's a classic counterinsurgency take. So basically, Hamas, as a military organization that is capable of massing forces, of launching rockets en masse into Israel, that is severely degraded, may be destroyed already, but there will be an insurgency for years to come. The reason for that is, I don't want to bring too much Clausewitz into this, but war is a continuation of politics by other means, and that's especially true for a insurgency. And unfortunately, Israel has shown tactical competence, even brilliance at times, but they haven't shown a strategic view for how to solve Gaza, because that involves some sort of a political solution. So I think what you'll see is a counterinsurgency, and that can go on for a very long time indeed.
How much do we understand Yahya Sinwar had an active role in the day-to-day directing of ongoing military operations in Gaza? Presumably, after a year of conflict, they were significantly degraded. Nevertheless, he was able to evade being killed or being captured until now.
That's a really good question, and my compliments to you and your research staff. So one of the issues when you have a leader on the run, be it Sinwar or Osama bin Laden, is how much of the organization's efforts and energy and resources are diverted into keeping that leader alive versus conducting operations. We don't know right now, but I would imagine it was a significant amount of it. I would also imagine that given the scrutiny on Sinwar and the operational security, which required him to stay away from electronic devices that could be easily intercepted, that he probably had a rather limited operational day-to-day control, that his role was in providing general guidance and inspiration, and that the implication of that is that with his passing, there won't be that much tactical effect unless we see a collapse of morale among Hamas.
David, very briefly, there's one voice we haven't heard from, and that's Hamas. They haven't confirmed the killing of Yahya Sinwar. Should we read anything into that?
I think it might just be the difficulty of communicating and the fact they're trying to settle on a message before they communicate. The physical evidence I've seen seems pretty definitive. So I think it's just disorganization and probably a little bit of shock.
All right, and that is very telling in itself. David DeRoche, professor at the National Defense University, also former Pentagon director of Arabian Peninsula Affairs. Good to hear your expert analysis on all of that. Thank you.
Thank you.